Hello, that's a very long stage. I apologize. How's everybody doing? Okay, we need a little bit more energy than that. How is everybody? Awesome. I am Akilah Hughes. I am a comedian, YouTuber, soon-to-be author. My book comes out September 24th, obviously. You can pre-order it now, but enough about me. I have the pleasure of moderating the Looking for Alaska panel. So let me just introduce some folks to you, all right? Our first guest is the executive producer, Josh Schwartz. We also have another executive producer, Stephanie Savage. All right, your Miles Pudge Halter, Charlie Plummer. Your Alaska Young, Kristine Froseth. Woo. And the executive producer and author that gave us this and so many other stories, my friend John Green.
Thanks, y'all. Before we start, I just have to say that I read part of Akilah's book on the plane, and it's so good. And I know we're not here to talk about Akilah's book, but it comes out in October. September. It's not that good at promo. It's called Obviously, and you should get it.
Thank you. Wow. Also, I have some business. You may notice that John is wearing a jersey under his blazer. I think you need to explain what has happened.
Yeah, I don't, spoiler alert if you're concerned about the Champions League final, as I know many of you are. But the football team I support, Liverpool Football Club, just won their first Champions League since 2005. It's a very special moment for me. And it happened backstage. This wasn't perfectly timed. And so they all got to see me collapse in tears, holding my phone, and then when my wife called me, hear me like wrenching sobs. So I got that out of the way, and now we're good.
Hell yeah. All right, let's get down to business. All right, John, so when you first started writing Looking for Alaska, which was your first novel, as we all know, how far did you think it would go? Did you ever think it would be a TV show, a series? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, Akilah. Yeah, of course. No, I mean, the thing is, like, I worked at Booklist magazine for many years, and because of that, Booklist reviews like 300 or 400 books every 2 weeks, and so I know that books come and go. Like, that's the nature of writing a book. And so I never imagined that it would be in print this far into the future, let alone that Hulu would exist, because it didn't exist when I wrote the book. But I'm just so happy that Josh and Steph, who are the people who've been working on an adaptation of the story this entire 14 years, that they're the people who get to make it. I'm so proud of the work that Charlie and Kristine and Denny and the rest, and Jay and the rest of the cast are doing. And yeah, I'm just really overwhelmed with gratitude.
Word. All right, so this one's for the cast and the team. Curious, how were you first introduced to Looking for Alaska?
Well, I was sent the book. It was an unpublished manuscript by a young author named John Green. And I just fell in love with the book, and as all of you did as well. I'm not alone in having that experience of seeing myself in Miles, or we all feel like we had an Alaska in our lives, of just connecting to these characters in such a deep way. I'm not the only person who felt that way, but I was lucky that I got to be the first person to feel that way and set the book up as a feature in 2005, shortly after, or I guess when the book was published. And just as we planned it, 14 years later, here we are.
Yeah, I read the book for the first time when Josh was thinking of adapting it, and we were both working together on season 2, 3 of the OC. It was before we had our company.
That's what Kristine wants to talk about today.
But honestly, the experience of, because we didn't have our company together, I wasn't originally working on the book with Josh. It was his own project. But my desire to collaborate and chime in with my own thoughts was a big driver in terms of us having our own company and working together on everything today.
Yeah, Stephanie lived through every draft with me, and although this started with that script, this is really our show together that we're so excited to be here talking about.
Amazing.
I first read the book when I think I was about 15, and I think I read it in a day. I fell in love with all the characters, but I really felt as though Miles especially was someone I really connected to on such a deep level, especially his passion to experience life and that yearning to want to start that journey. And then I found out they were turning it into a movie, and I really, really wanted it, but then I was too young at the time, and it was always in my head. It was always something I really, really wanted to go back to, and then I was just really fortunate that it did get to come back around, and here we are.
Here we are. Somewhat of a similar story. I read it in high school for the first time and also fell in love with it right away. Love at first sight. And then I reread it when the movie came around. And at the time, I mean, there's so many, I connected with her on so many levels. And then now I'm at a very different point in my life. And I'm now connecting with her on a much deeper level, so it's just been.
It was your first audition, right? Was when on the feature.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy to be here.
Yeah, I saw that audition. It was incredible. I mean, both Charlie and Kristine's auditions were just, just blew me away. Made me cry. Made me laugh.
Oh, that's very sweet. Okay, so something that we all know is that John has a real gift for specific character details and moments that really stick with you. Like if I say okay, you probably know to say. And you're probably familiar with the largest collection of Black Santas.
That's my biggest achievement.
It's true. And arranging them for the film, I know that was the personal collection.
By the way, there wasn't a lot of creativity involved in that. I walked into someone's house once and they had that collection, and I was like, oh, this is good for a book.
So yeah, take notes. Anytime you see something a little off, write it down. But how are these sort of specific moments, especially in Looking for Alaska, amplified over, the 8-hour miniseries versus a film?
Well, it's a great gift to be able to have 8 episodes to tell this story, because we're able to take scenes that are only alluded to in the book or happened off screen in the book and really put them on screen, or imagine other scenes with these characters. The characters are so well drawn and so delightful, and they just spin off into all sorts of fun. I mean, to be able to have extra time with the Colonel and Sarah in their volatile relationship is so much fun. To be able to have all this time with Miles in Alaska, I think it will forge just such a deeper connection, a more immersive connection for the audience with these characters, and we get to make sure everything you love in the book is on screen.
Good. They're going to hold you to that. So.
I'm sure we forgot one line, and you guys will hear about it, but yeah.
I hope we do.
Amazing. All right, so this one's for Josh and Stephanie. We sort of alluded to it a little bit before, but can you talk about the road to Hulu? I mean, it didn't exist in 2005, so how did that become the home for Looking for Alaska?
Well, Josh sort of started the process, 2 years ago, of the idea of bringing this to TV, to long form, and not doing it as a movie. And we pitched it all over town and had a great response, had a bidding war. And we just felt like we had a really nice relationship with Hulu. We have another show over there, Marvel's Runaways. And the executives in
Marvel
particular really connected to the material, had read it in high school or college and felt really strongly about it. And we just felt like that would be a safe home. It was really important to us that we were somewhere that would support John's vision and be really patient and loving in terms of bringing this to life.
That's what's up. All right. So something that I thought about, I got to see the pilot, which is excellent, the full thing. I mean, you all are going to love it. But I'm curious for all of you, why do you think that this show and the book worked so well in 2005 and also feels so relevant and new in 2019?
Mr. Green.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't read the book in 15 years.
It's really good. You should check it out.
I feel like the least qualified person to answer that question. I mean, the interesting thing is that as Alaska, Looking for Alaska stays the same as the world changes, which is always a kind of weird and interesting tension that happens if you're lucky enough to have a book hang around for a while. But I think what people respond to, I hope, is the emotion in the book is both the yearning, the sense of lost time, but also we've all had experiences where we failed people we cared about because we didn't imagine them complexly, because we didn't think of them as being, the full and complete people they were. And, I think that's an important theme in the book that people have responded to over the years and that they're exploring really well in the show. I also think that, Josh and Steph and Charlie and Kristine have seen these places in a deep way. Like, not only have they read the book many more times than I have, and more recently, but they've also all been to the boarding school that I went to and seen. The book is fictional, but they've seen some of the places that, that I was and that I was thinking about when I was writing it.
Yeah, I think the gift of John's book is it's an experience that is inspired by something that happened to him, but when people read that book, they feel like it's their own experience. We also said it in 2005. That's the year the book came out. It's the year the first readers encountered the book. It's the last moment of time before the iPhone. So it still gives it kind of this timeless feeling. The book, it's hard to imagine these characters, like Alaska, just texting these monologues to Miles as opposed to having to say them. There's a payphone that plays a pretty big role in the plot later on. And fortunately, a lot of the songs that I'd written into those early scripts were suddenly relevant again. So we get to revisit all that music.
Yeah, you did. You got to use the songs from the original script. That's true.
And we're having new artists.
So it is. I mean, it is historical fiction. That's what always happens. That's what always happens to a book that hangs around. It becomes I remember the first time I read Catcher in the Rye. I didn't realize that it was written about an earlier past because it all seemed so past to me. So yeah, it is. I mean, it was published in 2005. It was written about 2005 and sort of about 1994, and so it's gonna read like historical fiction.
Word. I feel like you're really good at marketing. This book is for everybody. It's historical fiction. It's YA.
Yeah. Learn about the mid-aughts. Come to Looking for Alaska.
I do think it's interesting to talk about the music. The first thing that I felt when I watched the pilot, and I think that a lot of people will, is the music. I was in high school in 2005, and I'm like, it slaps, So how did you come to decide on that? And with your work on the OC, how does that feel? I'm telling you, we love the OC. We love it.
Kristine has gotten Charlie into watching it.
Yes, I'm very proud.
And there was a great moment where Kristine's like, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's been a decade and a half, but Kristine's like, we just have to watch up to the part where Marissa dies.
Yeah, that's
true. And Charlie goes, Marissa dies? It was a great moment for me and stuff. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the music is inspired by that time. Or was from that time, stuff that was written into the script. There was a playlist that went with that script. So just being able to kind of go back to that music, it was like pulling out an old photo album and looking at pictures hadn't looked at in a while, and the music holds up. So it's a nice throwback for people who lived through that period, are nostalgic for that music, introducing that music to a new audience, and we've gotten some contemporary artists to cover songs from that period as well. So check out the soundtrack when it comes out with the show.
One of the challenges that we encountered is that a lot of the bands that we used on the OC, we used because they were indie bands and they were affordable because we didn't have a huge budget, and they're not indie bands anymore.
The Killers blew up.
That's true. Yeah. Look out for that if you're into the Killers. Can you tell anybody else about some of the music that they can look forward to? Also, for the young cuties who are actually acting in it, had you heard the music before? I mean, you're younger than I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely had heard the music.
It was a bad question.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so many of the songs are major. I don't know how much I can say because I don't know how much it's actually going to be.
Spoil some music. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just because we just shot it, I know, or we're shooting it at the moment. All I Want for Christmas Is You.
If you heard it for the first time on this,
breaking news.
That would be wild.
That's not really what the song.
That's the one that you responded to?
That's really a weird call. That song.
That's weird because I like know your taste in music, and I think you have like. I think Charlie and Kristine both have a really good taste in music. They're always recommending really good new music to me, and so I just want to state that for the record, in case you make an incorrect assumption about Charlie from his apparent love.
Thank you, Jeff.
Of what, for all I know, is a great Christmas song. I don't remember it.
You don't remember that song?
I mean, I could. Can you?
Everybody remembers.
We'll talk about it later.
All
We'll talk about it later.
Amazing, amazing. All right, so this one's for Charlie and Kristine.
What's your favorite Christmas song?
Yeah, what is your favorite Christmas song? You have one answer, and it is yes or no. But the real question is, Kristine, you sort of alluded to that as well, but how did you relate to the characters now, playing them? They're iconic. People feel an ownership over them. So what was it like playing them, and also how did you bring yourself to those characters?
Well, I think more so now I really relate to Alaska's internal life. I mean, I actually never really related to her outgoing personality, but just how, she's struggling with herself and she's feeling really lost, and her escapism habits, and how she's been dealing with what's happened in her childhood, and, grieving and all that. So it's those are things I definitely relate to, and it's been a beautiful journey going through her and exploring that. But I think it all kind of came about for me after we did our trip with John in Alabama and got to see everything and hear his side of things and get that blessing. And then just doing the first scene with Charlie and Denny and Jay was also really special, and it all kind of clicked.
Yeah, for me, I think like when I first read the book, I was the age that Miles is in the book, and I think at the time I really felt like that really was where I was in my life in a lot of ways, and then it was such a blessing for me to be able to kind of go and experience some things, and then now to be able to come back and still, I mean, it hasn't been that long since I was that age, but to be able to bring some of those things to this now, and then I think to be able, like Kristine said, to be able to really get to hear from John about his experiences and really make that connection, and then through Josh and Stephanie and their experiences, and really just, I think the really special thing about this thus far is that really almost everyone that's been working on this show has such a personal connection to the story, and I think that is so felt, and so it's really just all there for us. It's hard to explain in words, but it really is all there.
Yeah, no, to Charlie's point, everybody who works on the show, crew members, everyone has read the book, everybody is there out of passion, and everybody's there for the right reasons. We all take this really seriously. Translating this book to the screen, and from top to bottom, everybody feels that way.
When we went and scouted the location that we're using for our school, this was back in like February, the woman who works there is like, we've got everything here but a swan, and it's like, she read the book. Like, everyone is so committed to telling the story that it's really beautiful.
We got a swan, don't worry, we got a swan.
The swan was imported. All right, I want to take some questions from social media, and these have been gone through, so it's not going to be. Listen, we all know what the
Just
internet.
random ones. How do I feel about Liverpool winning the Champions League? Good. Good. I'm sorry for any Spurs fans.
Oh.
I don't think you're bad people. I just think we got the right result.
Diplomatic. All right, so this first question comes from Kristen Bosco, which is at Swimmer Karate, if you all want to follow her, I guess.
Hi, Kristen.
Swimmer Karate.
That's a hard sport.
So this, honestly, that should be a sport.
Oh, that is such a dad joke, Josh. Like, the Josh Schwartz I met in 2005 would have never made that joke.
He's a dad now.
Mm-hmm. He's wholesome.
I am so shamed. I'm just trying to keep the light up here. Okay.
All right, so Kristen asks, the timeline structure, X days before, X days after, and looking for Alaska, is significant to the story. How will this translate to the episodes?
It is, and it does. I'm too self-conscious now to say anything because I'm afraid John is going to shame me. But yes, we end We use the days before as a way of ending our episodes, and so it's always present in our storytelling.
We built a whole timeline in the writer's room of when we thought we were starting the episode or the series and where it ended, and there were some vigorous debates behind the scenes about counting down those days.
Very cool. We have another one from Helen Utterbeck. This is for Charlie and Kristine. Any scenes you are particularly excited to bring to life on screen?
No spoilers.
15, 14
In the first
years.
2 episodes.
Charlie, were you excited to be thrown into the lake?
So excited.
Until he actually got in the lake.
Yeah. There's so many scenes. I mean, I think you guys just got to watch probably the scene I was most excited for, which was that first connection between Miles and Alaska. But there's so many scenes. I think, I won't say a scene, but a sequence, which is the Thanksgiving sequence in the book, was something I was really, really excited about. And we've gotten to do that now. And it was such a wonderful experience getting to do that. And Denny, who's in the show, who plays Colonel, is so wonderful. And the woman who plays his mom is so wonderful. And we had such a beautiful experience getting to do that. But yeah, there's so many. I mean, I really honestly, every day I wake up and I really can't believe we're doing this. And every single moment that we get is really, I feel so fortunate to have.
I second all of that.
Awesome.
I have to say, for me,
Lean in, John. Go for it.
I was only on set for like 2 or 3 days, but the first day they filmed the scene at Kusa Liquors, the like liquor store in Pelham, where the slogan is "We cater to your spiritual needs," which I wish I had made up, but I didn't. And seeing y'all on that day, and it wasn't just that y'all were there, it's also Jay and Denny and other people from the cast came to support you on that day, even though they weren't filming on that day. That meant so much to me, the fact that, you know, Steph and Josh and Sarah Smith, the director of the first episode, had done such a good job of building, you know, a real sense of family that everybody wanted to be there to support you guys. And it was just, I mean, you know, in your life, you're lucky if you get a couple memories like that. It was very, very special for me and just made me feel overwhelmed with gratitude.
Aww. That's really sweet. I love it. Oh, come on, you can clap. I cut off the clap, I'm sorry. We have a few more questions from Instagram. I can't pronounce this, so I'm just going to say it. What was the casting process like, and what were you looking for in the actors for the main character?
Oh, they just threw darts at a dartboard.
You're like, they look close enough.
I don't cast movies, so I'll leave this one to Josh and Steph.
I mean, everybody who reads the book has a different take on Alaska. I mean, everybody sees her in a very specific way, tied to their own experiences. And when you're making something like this, there's, you know, our input and what we would like to do. Obviously, John's opinion is incredibly important to us. There's other producers, there's a studio, there's a network, and every single person has a different idea, having read the book, of what Alaska is. And when everybody saw Kristine's tape of her audition, all the arguing stopped, all the talking stopped, and everyone just said, "We found Alaska." And it was a very similar experience with Charlie. Charlie came and auditioned live for us. He was kind enough to read with like 11 other Alaska also-rans. And every time he would do the scene, you just, no matter who was auditioning for Alaska, you just wanted to watch Charlie. And he was so delightful and real and grounded. And he just sets the tone for the show in such a beautiful way, in such a consistent way, that we knew right away we had found Pudge as well. And we also knew going in, that there would only be one person who could play the Colonel. Yeah. We weren't like, there's going to be like 3 guys who could be the Colonel, maybe. There's going to be one person, and Denny Love is that person.
I mean, I cannot wait. Denny would be here if he hadn't been like shooting all night last night, but I cannot wait for y'all to see Denny as the Colonel. He is a revelation.
Yeah.
I'd just add that Patrick Rush, our casting director, who we've been working with since the OC, is incredible at putting together young ensembles, and he really outdid himself this time. That group chemistry is just, that's where the show lives.
For sure. So we have a few more questions from the internet, and then I'll play a little game with you all. Let's see. This is for everyone, so we'll just go down the line, whichever way we want to start. But what is your favorite phrase from the book?
I am concussed.
The patriarchal paradigm. I love that Alaska's a feminist.
You know what happens to me when I get asked these questions? It's not just that I like forget what my favorite line in the book is. I forget what every line in the book is, and then I forget like what every book is, and and it's the only time in my life when my head is completely empty, and I'm experiencing like something close to like meditative transcendence. So I don't know if that's happening to y'all, but if it is, don't feel bad because it's happening to me as well.
I mean, I always love the y'all smoke to enjoy it, I smoke to die. Or Denny's Abercrombie.
Oh, well, that was it. That's not from the book.
Oh, no, that's
Your favorite line was not written by John, is what you're saying.
It's good. It's a really good line, though. I would have written it if I thought of it.
My favorite line is probably the last line of the book, which is a quote, but I don't want to. But I think it's it's something like I don't know where there is, but I hope it's somewhere, and I hope it's beautiful. And I think that I remember when I first read that just like floored me, and it still does to this day. So,
Thanks.
Yeah, I think the first quote I saw from the book was the one that was everyone's MySpace profile.
People, rain, drizzle, hurricane.
Yeah. I like that you just sped through that. Can you say that one more time?
I don't remember the line exactly, but it's something like if people were rain, I was drizzle, and she was a hurricane, which.
It's in the show.
So the funny thing about that line is I think Julie Strauss-Gable, my editor, who's been my editor for my entire career, she's edited not just every book I've ever written, but also like several, like love letters. She's a great editor. She's worked on a lot of my work, including everything. Anyway, I wanted to cut that line. It was originally if people were precipitation, I was drizzle and she was a hurricane, which I felt was more accurate. And Julie was like, you really are killing the line. You're really failing to understand like what's good and useful about the line. So she changed it to if people were rain, I was drizzling, she was hurricane, which is much better. So thank you, Julie, wherever you are. Not just for that, but also for every other time you saved me.
Wow. All right, so let's play a little game before we get to this last question from the internet. All right.
We weren't aware there was going to be a game.
You weren't, but we don't have that many more questions, so we're going to play a game now.
Let's do it.
All right, so you all have spent a lot of time working on this. Obviously, some people more than others, but still, a lot of your time. I mean, production for 8 episodes, that is an hour each. You don't make that in an hour, it turns out. So you probably got to know each other really well. So I'm just going to ask. Everyone is so
It's a
nervous.
quiz.
I'll make it super simple. All right, I will say an adjective, and you can say who is the most of what.
Okay.
All right, who is the...
Hope we're all friends after this.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to use good adjectives. You can trust me.
Is the first one annoying? It's me. I know it's me. It's definitely me. What's next?
All right, question 2. Who would you say is the most shy of all of you?
Kristine.
Wonderful, good casting. Interesting. All right, who do you think is the loudest? And you can also include Denny.
Denny.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Denny's incredible. I mean, he
Can we call him?
Yeah,
Can we FaceTime him?
So just for context, when everybody got the part, Josh and I think Steph and I called them to say like congratulations, and Kristine was like, "Oh, I'm so honored," and she was a little teary-eyed, and Charlie was a little tearful and quiet and really grateful, and Denny I don't think I can quote him directly, but he said, hello, and we said, like, hi, it's Josh and Steph and John, and he said, oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
There was a few more words that's not safe for the children in the audience.
I edited for time.
For sure. Yeah, redacted.
The other thing about Denny, I'll say, as funny as he is, when he auditioned on his own, he did the Colonel's monologue from Barn Night about, best day, worst day. On his own, he did it. And he was so funny in the first scene, and he had us all in tears in the second scene. And he was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this part, but I know this will be the only, if I don't, this would be the only chance I'd ever have to say these words. So I just felt like I had to take it.
Wow. I wish we could Skype him. All right. Let's do a few more. All right. Who do you think is the most nervous for the series to come out?
I'll take that one.
Cool. Who is the most excited? All of us?
We all are. We're all really excited.
Yeah, we're all really excited.
I'm usually the most nervous, and John is like blocking my lane on all these things. Because you were more nervous.
I mean, it's my gift.
Yeah, it comes through in the emails. Normally, Josh is like the nervous emailer.
I've been reframed by John. I seem extremely confident.
Yeah, it's like when you think that you're progressive, but then someone like way outflanks you to your left. That's me.
Amazing. All right. Well, we have a little bit more time, which is great. So I kind of want to talk. You all are my favorite. So with, it's Hulu. It's a big series. People like watching shows. What do you hope fans take away from the show when they watch it?
Well, we tried to make it with an eye to making something that felt really timeless, that could become a perennial. Like, hopefully you binge watch it the weekend it comes out, and then you watch it again, and again, and again, and again. And maybe, like, the next year, you'll be like, I'm ready to watch that again. It's 8 episodes, so it's extremely bingeable and shareable with your friends. I think what we really want to come out of it is people connecting with the characters and the world, and then ultimately connecting with each other. We hope it's a conversation starter, and that it really brings people together to talk about the themes of the books. And whether it's nostalgia and you're looking back on your teen years, or you're going through that right now, or looking forward to it, that you can connect with what's happening and make those conversations a part of your life right now.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make something that if you're a fan of the book, you're going to feel good about it and feel like we've really, hopefully, honored the book and put so much of it on screen. But we also wanted to make something for people who hadn't read the book yet. Hopefully, we'll lead them to go buy the book, John, right? We want them to buy the book if they haven't already.
You shouldn't feel like you have to. It's at your local library. But I know there are a lot of booksellers here, too, he realized belatedly. So do support your local independent bookstore as well, but primarily by buying Akilah's book, obviously, that comes out in September.
Wow. But the book is, I think part of the reason why the book endures is because there's such big questions that the characters are wrestling with, about life and how to live a good life, and about death and what happens to us when we die, and how do we find meaning and suffering, and questions that are ultimately unanswerable, but just asking those questions in that time in your life where you feel immortal when you're a teenager, and you have that first encounter with mortality, and how that reframes your perspective. And I think the book does such a beautiful job of posing those questions and having our characters struggle with those questions that, to Stephanie's point, if people can take those themes with them after they watch the show, I think we'll feel really good about it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the hardest thing about being a person is having to live with ambiguity, like having to live with questions that don't get answered even though they deserve answering, and then also having to live with guilt, and having to live with, a responsibility, or having to live with the failures that you've had, which we all have. And, my hope for the series is that it explores that in ways that will be meaningful for people. And I think, the performances are incredible, and Josh and Steph have built a really wonderful world, and so I'm really excited for people to see it. It is like an adaptation. It is their show, not my show, and I want them to like be able to own that and celebrate that, because I think what they've achieved is really special. But I just think they've done a great job.
Charlie and Kristine. We gotta know, what do you want people to feel after they watch you all? You're inhabiting their favorite characters.
Well, I definitely think what Stephanie and Josh and all of you guys said, I hope it will make people feel less alone and hopefully start a conversation and just enjoy the journey. I hope that, yeah.
I don't know how to follow any of that.
It's fair, that's fair.
Also to learn about the dangers of swans.
Very much so, very important.
Takeaway. Sorry, John, that was another bad joke for you.
I mean, swans are terrifying.
Yeah, no, they're not to mess with.
They're
Swans and Canada geese. The rise of the Canada goose is one of the biggest. That's not true. I was going to say it's one of the biggest problems of the 21st century, but it's not.
Maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah, in like 2014, that problem felt huge.
Everything was different then. So people online were asking about who you all were when you were in high school. What was that like? They just want to get to know you kids. What's that? All of you.
You guys are closer to being able to remember that, so.
Well, I think we were both always the new kid. I moved a lot back and forth between Norway and New Jersey, and I always kind of had to get back into the different cultures, and you.
Yeah, no, just based on my family, we moved around a lot, and I went to 8 different schools. And that was another thing that I really connected with Miles, of course, is that feeling of entering a new world and at first feeling a little bit alone. But that moment when you really find your people, it's so special. And that's kind of, I was a very weird kid, too. And I could go on and on about that, but nobody wants to hear about that.
How are you weird?
Oh, I love musical theater. I love Medea movies.
These are your
very
people.
Bizarre.
Say that again. I don't think everybody got that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, Charlie is a huge musical theater nerd. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Yeah, I think part of, I'm interested in that because maybe part of the reason that y'all responded so deeply to these characters is, Charlie, because you understood what it's like to be new in a place and how wonderful it is to find your people or to get a sense that you're finding your people, and how scary it is until you do. And, Kristine, you understand maybe what it's like to want to be able to stay in a place so bad that you'll make a lot of compromises to do it. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before, but that's, yeah. No real story there. I was not very popular in high school, surprisingly enough. I didn't crush it. Although I did go to one of my high school classmates, the brilliant Peruvian writer Daniel Alarcón, who just has been texting me all day about this the soccer game that we were both heavily invested in. He reminded me recently that while I felt very nerdy, so did everyone else. So yeah, I think we were all nerds together.
I was not a nerd.
You probably crushed it.
No, I hated high school. I was a very angry teenager. And
Savage was a badass in high school. Like, the stories of Stephanie in high school are terrifying.
And not suitable for this audience or any other audience. But yeah, I did not enjoy high school. I just wanted to be a grown-up. I finished high school early, got an apartment with my friend, and
You worked at the Pied Pickle.
I worked in the Pied Pickle, lied about my age to get a job as a bus girl, worked in the non-smoking section till I got myself out of there and off to college.
Killed it. I'll answer, fine. I was not cool in high school. I did choir. It's not a
Choir
good
is
story.
cool.
Choir is cool.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, choir's cool. Our choir was not good.
Okay. All right.
And also we had 3 choirs, and the show choir didn't sing, but it was all like the hot girls from cheerleading and all the hot guys from the football team, but they just lip-synced. And then we in concert choir didn't get to dance, but wore like hideous outfits, and none of the sopranos were actually sopranos. So it was like, when they were supposed to come in, it was just like air. You're like, anybody? I could go on forever, no one cares. But yeah, if you're in choir, stick with it. Where are we going with this? All right, cool.
Josh did not talk about high school.
That was intentional.
Yeah. What's going on with your high school life?
I lived a very, it was fine. It was good. I loved high school. It was great. It was good. Seriously, no one's going to believe that. But everybody feels like an outsider.
What happened in high school, Josh?
My father's in the audience. I feel weird talking about it. It's cool. No, it was good. It was good.
Wow.
Jeez.
God, I mean, that's the most defensive.
I feel like we need another
Now I'm
hour.
scared. What did you do in high school?
I just don't want him to know. It's been a while, and I got away with it. And
I hear
let's
ya.
let's stop
I
talking
hear ya.
about it. Let's just move on.
All right.
I did have a lot. I mean, when I was writing the book, one of the things I do remember is that because I had a lot of self-destructive impulses when I was in high school, and I really, really struggled with like self-destructive urges, and not, like when it came to things like smoking cigarettes and things like drinking recklessly and stuff like that. That was one of the ways I related to Alaska, because I found it very difficult to figure out like what to do with that real intense hurt that I felt that I couldn't figure out a different way to get out. Like I couldn't figure out a way to process it other than these like kind of self-destructive behaviors. I'm sorry, that didn't take it to a funny place.
Liverpool won.
Incredible. It's incredible. Look up the highlights, those of you, the 99.2% of you who don't care about soccer. Just wait till you see the highlights.
All right, we're gonna do a
There were
lightning
2
round.
goals.
What?
2 goals.
2 thrilling goals in only 96 minutes of action.
Man. All right, so we're gonna do a quick lightning round. Just like basically one-word answers, I suppose. All right. Let's everybody sign.
Leo.
Leo.
Gemini.
Virgo.
Are you a Virgo?
Yes.
I'm a Virgo.
Woo! I'm a Virgo. Squad. All right.
Savage and I are actually a day apart.
Really?
Yeah. Read into that what you will.
Word. All right. Favorite meme?
No. Not answering pass.
I don't know. What about you, John?
I got some.
We got.
Thanks for asking, Akilah. I really like all the ones that have my brother in them. I find them very funny. I like to just search for my brother GIFs, like Hank Green GIFs, and just laugh and laugh and laugh. I realize I just alienated like half of the audience, or GIFs, whichever you prefer.
Yes.
And then all the other ones I like are Liverpool related. And based on how that stuff's gone over so far, I probably don't want to dig too deep into them.
I'm gonna say anything from SpongeBob.
A good
shows.
sponge, and it's its own language now. The SpongeBob meme world is almost an alphabet.
Yeah.
I'm completely fascinated. Like, could you write a novel using only SpongeBob jokes? Almost. Like, we're close.
There are lots of book people here who can help you realize that dream. I think there's some publishers who'd be interested in that. All right. Best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, come on. All right, actually, yes. It was Coachella 2005, and Arcade Fire was playing the second stage, and nobody had heard of them yet. Nobody had really seen them yet. And they came on stage, and the sun was going down, and there was like 17 of them, and everybody was like, who is this band? And it was incredible, and you could see the band realizing that they were about to have this massive connection with this audience, and that was very special. First thing that comes to mind, but at least something came to mind.
that also came to my mind, but before
No, don't
that,
take my answer, please.
Bright Eyes played on the same stage, and that was very good. We took the cast of the OC to see Death Cab for Cutie.
That's a little on the nose, but yeah, we did.
Just saying. And also Styx Paradise Theater Tour, which was my first concert. Styx fans.
Kristine and I have a joint answer because we went and saw A$AP Rocky while we were making this show, and it was a lot of fun, and we got to go with our friends, and that's probably our favorite of recent memory. I don't know, that's a hard question.
I actually saw an early Arcade Fire show where one really annoying guy was shouting out the name of one song he wanted to hear, and finally my friend Lindsay turned around and said, "They have 12 songs, they're going to play them all." But the best concert I ever went to was a Mountain Goats concert in my favorite band. In New York City, they have this song, The Best Ever Death Metal Band out of Denton, which is an incredible song about the best ever death metal band out of Denton, Texas. And at the end of the song, the lead singer says, "Hail Satan, hail Satan," but it's kind of a sad, plaintive, dare I say it, religious cry. And the crowd kept saying it for a really long time until the singer was crying, and it was just a very beautiful moment.
Wow.
And he's like my favorite person in the whole world, so other than y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. My favorite, I'm just answering because I like to.
Yeah, please.
Whatever, I have their attention. I loved Beyonce. She was really good. I saw, oh my gosh, it's life-changing. She blew a kiss at me. I swear. And my sister got it on film, and the whole we were at a stadium, and everyone was like, because they didn't know who she did it to, but it was to me because I blew her a kiss. It was amazing. I've had really good luck since. That's why I'm here with you.
That happened to me at a Huey Lewis in the News concert.
Yeah, similar. Same vibe.
James.
All right. Well, we are just about out of time, but I think we have something we are supposed to tell.
We are, yeah. So,
audience.
guys, thank you all for coming out tonight. And if you want to see Looking for Alaska, October 18th. All 8 episodes at once.
Amazing. Thank you all so
Clear your
much for
weekend
being
plans.
here. What did you say? I just shouted over that.
I just said clear your weekend plans.
Word. Yeah, don't have weekend plans. I hope you love it. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take
Enjoy
care.
BookCon.
Thank you.